All right, my Food Moon friends, welcome back. Chandra's Austin, Odyssey, Food and Moon, Body, Mind Coaching. I want to talk cruise ships today. I used to live on a cruise ship. Not sure if you know about that. I'm sure I've mentioned it in multiples of my videos, but I have a client who recently went on a cruise ship adventure, and it got me thinking. We started plotting on how to eat and how to deal with the food on the cruise ships, and of course the stress of traveling. And it really got me thinking about how many valuable lessons I have from my cruise ship life. And so I wanted to do a little story time around cruise ships, inspired by one of my clients who decided to go there.
Welcome! Here is your hostess and coach, Chandra Zaz, helping people make food and mood changes doable without missing out. Go ahead, high five that like button, subscribe and share while you're there.
Cruise ships are an interesting way to travel. There's a certain ease and all-inclusivity or all-inclusive, ease towards traveling. And I have a very unique experience of actually living on a cruise ship. So my man, he was an environmental officer on Royal Caribbean. And so we lived on the cruise ship with him for the most part. Most of the time he was there, we were there. It started out with me by myself and then my daughter, and we would be on the cruise ship with him for most of his contract. He worked 10 weeks on, and then we would take 10 weeks off and go rock climbing. And so I got kind of used to living on a cruise ship and figuring out how to eat in a way that didn't make me gain weight or feel bloated and off. It was an adventure figuring out how to eat. The first contract, it was 2017 was our first time that we were there, and we kind of just went with it and decided to see how it would go. And we both gained, I think, like 10 pounds. And we went on a rock climbing trip to Argentina right after the first contract, and we both were like really struggling, because 10 pounds when you're hanging on rocks on your fingers, that 10 pounds is dead weight that is not fun to climb with. And we lost the weight over the trip. Rock climbing is great for moving your body and getting all your muscles engaged and carrying heavy bags. And rock climbing is such a great sport. I really love it, especially rock climbing trips, better than the gym. So we went back to the next contract, and then the next contract, and the next contract, really trying to figure out, okay, well, how do we keep our bodies healthy? How do we keep our bodies in good shape?
Hello, my friend. How are you? I'm in the Dead Sea, floating in the water. Go ahead and like and share and follow so we can keep in touch.
And one thing we did is we picked up Insanity. I don't know, I think it was about a year in. I had looked at some, I was like, who are the people that look healthy on the ship? They were the entertainment crew. I asked them what they did for working out, and they did Insanity. So we picked up that along the way, but we also really focused on the food aspect. And we did one of the ship crossings from Europe over to the East Coast. And I saw a huge pallet of oil, and it was these tubs of oil, and I looked at the ingredients, and it was like 17 ingredients. It was a lot of hydrogenated, a lot of, way too many ingredients for oil to have. And I learned that it's basically put on all of the food, the steamed vegetables, the plain white rice, everything is really slathered in this oil. There's also butter in some of the fancy restaurants. Maybe it's even margarine, I'm not sure, but there is also olive oil. You can find olive oil there, but most of the food is cooked in this hydrogenated oils. And so that in itself is a real big health problem. I mean, it's in majority of the packaged foods. It's in a majority of the restaurants used. And so one of the ways I really started thinking about life on the cruise ship and food on the cruise ship was that, like, we had access on the cruise ship to pretty mainstream American food. And mainstream American food is not really health promoting. There's two issues with the cruise ship. One is people, they pay a certain amount and it's like all included. So eat as much as you want. So there's this certain mindset behind, like, well, I want to get my money's worth. I want to, eat all the food that I can. So that is part of the reason that weight gain happens on a cruise ship. Most people gain weight. I think everybody gains weight on a cruise ship. And then the other factor is like, well, what are we actually eating? So this food that we're eating, is it actually nourishing, nutrient dense, like food that our body can actually use for its building blocks? Like we need oil, our body needs oil, our brain needs oil, we need oil. But when it's hydrogenated oils, our body can't use it. And so our body isn't getting what it needs. So it's never really satiated. And then it's also like breaking down our body and creating all these free radicals. And so it's creating inflammation in our body. And so we're not satiated from hydrogenated oils. And then we're also like not feeling well because it's causing inflammation in our body. Then you also mentioned then there's also like the things to note of like sugar being added, and like when we're eating sugar, our body also just starts getting into over desire and over hunger. And so we just start craving and wanting more, and our body's not nourished. And so then we're getting like really full, but then we're like wanting more. And one of the things that I really noticed was that like the food was not satisfying to me. I didn't feel good afterwards. I felt heavy, I felt sluggish, but I didn't feel like I was getting nourished. And I teach this in my program of like how to really listen to your body. And so I'm just kind of briefly touching on that part of like how to listen to your body and how to know what it feels like when your body says yes to this food, and it's like in your core. As my daughter said, like my brain was saying yes and my body was saying no. I love that she said this. She said this after school. They'd offered her some processed food and she declined them. It was amazing. I'm so impressed with her when she does stuff like that. She doesn't always do it, but sometimes she does it. It's great. She has the tools to do it. And where was I? The oils. So not being nourished with food. So what we ended up doing was basically developing these recipes. So I would go off once a week on the ports, on a port that had like a good store, and I would literally take 2 empty suitcases and go shopping and fill them up and bring them back on. So if you're wondering, can you bring food on a cruise ship? You totally can. Alcohol, they don't really like you bringing on a cruise ship because they want to sell you the alcohol, but the food is free on the cruise ship. And so they don't really care if you bring more food, if you bring food on the cruise ship. So every week I was bringing suitcases of food. In one of our ports we had in San Juan, I had a friend who lived there who let me mail a lot of Amazon packages to his house. We developed this bone broth recipe, which if you have not tried my bone broth recipe, it's incredible. I have a couple clients who are just in love with it, raving about it, like it's changing their life. This bone broth recipe we developed while living on the cruise ship as a way to get protein and fats and nutrients into our body and to not eat the cruise ship food. So we literally perfected. We like ate this bone broth recipe every day for over a year. If you count over like a 2-year period, we were off the ship half the year, but this bone broth recipe is incredible. So if you don't have access to, if you haven't seen it yet, go look at it, go order it. It's really, really tasty, really nourishing. And then we also ate a lot of popcorn with nutritional yeast and olive oil and salt as a form of calories. We also developed our salad toppings recipe there, where we would just order like lettuce. Sometimes it was arugula lettuce, sometimes it was iceberg lettuce, and maybe a little bit of plain rice. And then we would just pour these toppings, these salad toppings onto this to try to get nourishment and calories into our body. And by the end, we had figured it out. We figured out an exercise routine using Insanity, 30 minutes a day, amazing workout. And then these couple recipes, we lived off this for the couple months that we lived on the cruise ship. And that was the way, basically avoiding all of the cruise ship food that, if you think about like what they're trying to give us good tasting food as cheap as possible. And so it's a lot of carbs, it's a lot of sugar, it's a lot of hydrogenated oil, and it's just not nutrients. Like I really like to think about food as being nourishment, and then all of the packaged stuff that is so normalized and so like mainstream, it's I call it man-made calories. It's not for our health. It's for business's profit. It's for making money at a restaurant. It's for profit. It's not for health. And so I really like to offer this concept of like thinking of food as sustenance that actually like nourishes in our bodies, our brains, our guts, our cells, food that doesn't like feed all the unfriendly bacteria, microbes in our body. And yeah, there's a lot more layers to it. I go into it in depth in my program. If you're wanting to re-normalize what food actually really is, like there is a way to do it. It doesn't take a lot of time. Our bone broth recipe is like less than 5 minutes to make. All you gotta do is put it in a jar, add some hot water. It doesn't have to, health does not have to be hard. It doesn't have to cost a lot. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. It's just a re-education piece. So if you're wanting to do this kind of work, if you're not wanting to, if you're wanting, so what I really want to do is I want to create a new movement around food. I want to make mainstream food really different. I want to make mainstream food in a way that it's actually giving us tools to own our health, because it's really possible. I know what it's like to be sick and be told that it's like you got prescriptions for life and feel really limited by my health. That is the short version of my story. And so if you're there, which is a lot of Americans, if you're there feeling limited by your health, by your energy levels, by your brain clarity, by your symptoms, by your weight, I can help you. So reach out to me, let me know. I would love to help you. I want to create a movement. I'm creating a movement to really, like, one of the things about my clients, like, and you know, on the cruise ship, you can't do this. You can't look at the labels. It's all just a buffet line, or it's just a menu. You don't get to look at the labels. But one of the things I do with my clients is I really help them look at labels. A friend of ours, he really got our message of how bad hydrogenated oils are. He like, look, I bought this really good salad dressing. He had us over for dinner. It said olive oil dressing, and on the back, the first ingredient is canola oil. Another friend just sent me almost the identical thing. My mom, she was buying organic, good salad dressing. She turns it over and it's canola oil and sugar. And it was an organic brand. It's wild. And both of these friends are like, what the heck? And I'm like, I know, let's start a movement. Let's denormalize these foods that really harm us. So come join the movement. I really want to make it happen with you. It takes all of us to really step in, and because one of the biggest obstacles of making food changes is the social piece. And so this is why I really want to make a movement, is that in my friend group, depending on which friend group I'm talking about, but I have multiple friend groups. There's a spectrum, but some of them are like all in and really understand what it means to have whole foods and really read labels. And it's possible, and it's so much fun to eat food where your body's like doing the happy food dance and you're feeling good. And so let's make it a social movement. Let's make it a community. Let's make it something that maybe even cruise ships will buy onto. If we demand it, if enough of us keep speaking up and keep requesting and keep asking at restaurants and keep bringing attention to it, they want our money, so they will come around. And our health is so worth it. There's nothing else that I think is more worth it than our health. Without our health, we don't have a whole lot. I know, I've been there. I've really lacked my health. So it's possible to make big changes, and let's do it together. And yeah, if there's somebody that you think would benefit from this video, please pass it along. And yeah, let's do this. All right, have a beautiful day. See you soon.